The One Piece manga just revealed that Luffy's grandfather Monkey D. Garp is setting out on a rogue mission to get back Luffy's marine friend Koby from Blackbeard. And not only does this basically confirm that Garp might be part of the top secret marine organization 𝚬𝚐, but it also sets up a major battle between Garp and the Blackbeard pirates. Now that may sound a little bit crazy, but Oda just dropped this bombshell of a statement at a Shonen Jump event just last week. He said this: regarding the future of the manga, these two people will be fighting. I would call it a battle royale, and I just hope that no one dies. And isn't that just the perfect timing right there? Garp versus Blackbeard. That's without any doubt one of the most unexpected plot twists that Oda has thrown into the story just recently, especially right after he revealed that Kizaru is coming to Egghead Island with an entire armada of marine warships to stop Luffy and the Straw Hats from taking Vegapunk. And speaking of that, we actually got a crazy update on that situation as well very quickly, because we see Garp arguing with another Marine Vice Admiral that he needs more forces to take back Koby from Blackbeard. However, apparently the Marines' entire force has been ordered to sail to Egghead Island together with Kizaru. In other words, the world government is throwing everything they have at their disposal right now at Luffy. And when you think about it, there are two good reasons for this. One, Luffy is about to take Dr. Vegapunk with him. However, the government wants to kill Vegapunk because of everything he knows about the 𝚬𝚐𝚐 and the Ancient Kingdom. And also because he's able to command the 𝚬𝚐𝚐, the new deadly weapons that he just created for the government. And number two, because the Gorosei know that Luffy has eaten the legendary sun god Nika fruit that they tried to erase from history and that they were desperate to get their hands on for centuries. And so this is now their attempt to defeat Luffy once and for all, while he still hasn't fully figured out his new powers. In other words, the world government, including the Five Elders and Imu, the secret ruler of the world, have now all fully acknowledged Luffy as a Yonko. You know, other than Rob Lucci, who in this chapter says he won't acknowledge Luffy, even though he was knocked out by a Luffy in sunglasses, without, by the way, landing so much as a single hit on him. That is some next level copium right there. But then again, I don't mind seeing Lucci getting his butt kicked a third time by Luffy, so win-win, I'd say. But let's go back to Garp now. So, while Akainu has sent Kizaru and all these warships and fighters the Marines had stationed in New World to take out Luffy, Garp is now going on a rogue and clearly unauthorized mission to save Koby from Blackbeard. Why is that? Well, in case you need a quick refresher, in chapter 7, Koby was able to join the Marines after Luffy saved Zoro and the remaining Marine soldiers from the tyrannical rule of X and Morgan. Koby was also accompanied by Morgan's son 𝚬𝚐𝚐, who was the one who, by the way, blackmailed and almost killed Zoro in the first place. And so after they joined the Marines for some still unknown reason, Koby and 𝚬𝚐𝚐 are then personally trained by Luffy's grandfather Garp, turning both of them into quite powerful fighters in a very short amount of time, teaching them both Haki and the techniques of the 6 powers that are also being used by Rob Lucci and co. So yeah, we do know that Koby is a very important student for Garp that he cares about, but I think there is a lot more to this. I mean, why would Garp risk confronting a Yonko right now for a single Marine soldier, no matter how close they really are? And how did the Marines learn about Koby's capture in the first place? Well, the elephant in the room right here is, of course, 𝚬𝚐, a secret organization within the Marines that works independently of the Celestial Dragons and the Gorosei. Basically, this group wants to turn the Marines into a true force for the good of the people and not just a tool to keep the world nobles in power so they can live in glamour and terrorize the people of the world. Now, we do know for a fact that Koby, 𝚬𝚐𝚐, and X-Drake were all part of this organization. Drake, for instance, was sent to spy on Kaido as part of his crew. And now, just recently in chapter 1061, we met another Marine commander called Hibari, another 𝚬𝚐 member who is really worried about Koby and who tried to convince a few other 𝚬𝚐 members to go rescue him. And now, this very same Hibari and 𝚬𝚐𝚐 are being picked up by Garp to go and save Koby from Beehive Islands. Now, I'm obviously not the first person to speculate that Garp might be part of or even be the leader of Sword. After all, he more than openly stated a couple of times that he hated the Celestial Dragons and that he refused a promotion to Admiral multiple times to avoid being under their direct control. When I think about it, Garp is pretty much the perfect example of what you would call a good Marine, someone who truly wants to help and protect the people from both pirates and corrupt government officials alike. So he would undoubtedly be a more than perfect fit for this organization. And the fact that he trained so many of Sword's current members makes it really unlikely, I'd say, that he has nothing to do with the entire thing at all. On top of all that, he is about to attack Beehive Island and the Blackbeard pirates. And will you look at that? There are 2 people with Blackbeard right now that are also theorized to be secret Sword members. One of them is former Marine Admiral 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗𝚍, who has joined the Blackbeard pirates after his duel with Akainu. Now, I've already talked in depth about 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗𝚍's motives in this video right here, where I explained all of the Blackbeard pirates, and it is pretty obvious that 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗 is just spying on Blackbeard to keep an eye on him. But taking this a step further, many people believe that 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗 is actually also a part of Sword, who, just like X-Drake, has been sent to infiltrate the crew of a Yonko. And who's the second person, you ask? Well, last time we actually saw Blackbeard, he was attacking none other than Luffy's ally, Law. And there is an absolutely fantastic theory by my fellow YouTuber Randy Troy that goes into depth about all the evidence and hints that Law has been an undercover Marine all along. Actually, if you'd like to see an in-depth video about all that, make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments. If we get, let's say, 2,000 subscribers until tomorrow, I'm sure we can make something happen. What is really suspicious though, is that all of these potential Sword members have been in contact with each other. Law and 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚗𝚍 both suspiciously arrived at Punk Hazard at the exact same time. Law and Kobe were the 2 main characters in the Rocky Port incident that Blackbeard knew about as well. Drake frees Law from the prison in Wano and then talks to Kobe right after. And 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚗𝚍 was of course a big fan and student of Garp when he was still younger, and the list goes on and on and on. What I'm trying to get at here is that Oda is setting up a war between the Blackbeard pirates and a rogue part of the Marines, Sword. And even though Garp is clearly not getting any sort of backup from the main Marine force that is sailing towards Luffy, he will not be fighting alone. This war will most likely involve all of the Sword members that we know officially so far, and I assume we will also see a whole bunch of new Sword members revealed as well. On top of that, since we have Law, Kobe, and Blackbeard all in one spot, I'm also expecting a flashback about the Rocky Port incident and maybe even about the history of Sword itself. And I also expect 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗𝚍 to play a decisive role here in helping Kobe and hopefully Law escape as well. Now, to be fair, so far we don't actually know if Law and Blackbeard will be at Beehive Island for sure when Garp arrives there with the members of Sword. After all, last time we saw them, they were still fighting. But based on everything we've discussed so far, it would be really strange if Garp and Blackbeard wouldn't clash after all this. And so the question right now, of course, is whether or not Garp has a chance to win this thing. I mean, we all know that Blackbeard has long been set up as Luffy's main rival in the chase for the One Piece. So similar to Law, the chances of Garp actually defeating Blackbeard seem fairly slim, simply based on the fact that the structure of the story seems to suggest a battle between Luffy and Blackbeard. Now, that being said though, Garp has been set up to be one of the strongest Marines all throughout the story, who has fought on a level with the likes of Rox, Roger, Whitebeard, and Shiki. We also saw that Rayleigh was able to at least scare Blackbeard off, and I would think that Garp would be at least as strong as Rayleigh, if not stronger than him. And so should Garp and Blackbeard actually fight, then I would expect it to be one of the best fights we've seen in the entire story so far, given that Oda doesn't off-screen most of it again, as he really likes to do with these types of fights. And seeing Garp fighting at full strength is something that I have been wishing for a long time, and I'm sure he could leave quite the impact on Blackbeard. However, should that quote from Oda about the unexpected battle actually turn out to be about this specific fight, I think Garp has a pretty big death flag above his head. And let's be real, real, Garp dying at the hands of Blackbeard would be an even more traumatic experience for us than Ace's death was. I mean, Garp has been one of the most beloved and respected characters among fans, and it would be another incredibly traumatic event for Luffy as well, of course. When you think about it, Garp was basically his father figure during his childhood, since Dragon was never around for him. So the person who trained him and was the only part of his family that actually was there for him was Garp. And I'm very curious how all of this will be playing out. But there was a bunch of other major things happening in this chapter as well that we need to talk about too. One thing, for instance, is that Oda basically confirmed that there is both an unexpected ally, but also an unexpected traitor on Egghead Island right now. Because even though Vegapunk had locked up the top of the Egg Dome, so even the 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗𝚍 wouldn't be able to enter it, someone has helped ZP0 opening the dome for them. And so now they're able to once again chase after Vegapunk and the Straw Hats. Now, my personal main suspect here would be Lilith, who seems to have been very pro-government and very anti-Straw Hats all along, but who knows, maybe it was someone else. In the meantime, Vegapunk has contacted a mysterious character who apparently is strong enough to help them fight off the 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐 and Lucci. I am more than intrigued by this. Is it someone that we already know, or a new character? My brain always keeps jumping to 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚗𝚍 for some reason when it comes to these types of mysterious, strong characters, but we'll have to see. And seeing Zoro play with Kaku will be a real pleasure to follow as well. I'm actually really curious to see if Zoro will have any side effects from having seen that Grim Reaper in Wano or not, and whether Kaku will have an awakened giraffe devil fruit, and what that would look like. But the other real banger in this chapter was of course Kid, Killer, and the rest of the crew arriving at Elbaf. Because this has some very interesting implications. As we now know, the mysterious man with the burning marks that Kid talked about in Wano is Robin's friend Saul, who retrieved all the books from the library of Ohara and brought it to Elbaf. And according to Kid, he knows about the last road poneglyph, and that makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because it really wouldn't be that big of a surprise if the librarians of Ohara had somehow gotten their hands on a road poneglyph. Now that would of course give Kid a major head start in the race for Laugh Tale. However, as you might know, I'm also a big believer in the theory that Elbaf is part of Shanks' territory and under his rule, which would be pretty fitting. Law versus Blackbeard and Kid versus Shanks. There are actually a lot of reasons why Shanks is most likely on Elbaf and why the Straw Hats will have to go there next as well. If you're curious, go check out that video right here. Thank you so much for watching my videos in 2022, and I hope to see you around next year as well. Let me know what you want to see on the channel.